What really happens at the moment of death? Is there a pause, or does the spirit leave immediately? Death is one of life's most profound mysteries. You may have wondered what happens in that fleeting moment when the final breath is drawn. Is there silence, a void? Or is there an immediate transition, a departure of the spirit from the body? These questions weigh heavily, not because they point to an end, but because they hint at a beginning, one that is unseen yet deeply significant. Imagine the physical stillness of the body at death. For all its years of movement, breath, and vitality, the body ceases. It returns to silence, becoming motionless. But what about the part of you that isn't confined to flesh, the part that dreams, loves, and questions? The Bible provides a profound answer, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. At that moment, there's no pause. Your spirit, the essence of who you are, separates from the body and journeys back to the Creator. Think about this in everyday terms. You've likely seen the moment when a machine is unplugged, the power instantly gone, the hum of energy silenced. Yet, the electricity itself doesn't disappear. It continues in its source. In a similar way, when your physical body ceases, the spirit doesn't end. Instead, it moves toward something far greater, returning to the one who breathed life into you from the very beginning. This transition isn't just about leaving, it's about awakening. The body may stop, but the spirit steps into a new reality. It's not an end, but the start of a journey where the material world no longer limits you. But will there be evidence of this event? The Bible speaks with clarity about what happens when life comes to an end. As we saw, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7 paints a vivid picture of this profound moment, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. These words remind you that death is not chaos or randomness. It's part of a divine order set in motion since creation itself. Think back to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, where it says God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. This breath, the spirit, is what makes you unique, not just a body, but a living being connected to God's eternal purpose. At death, the body and spirit return to their origins, the body to the earth, and the spirit to its divine creator. You might wonder, why this separation? It serves as a powerful reminder of your true essence. While you live in a physical world, your spirit belongs to eternity. Dust is temporary, it crumbles, fades, and returns to the soil. But your spirit, it's eternal, reflecting the eternal nature of the God who gave it. This truth also carries hope. When your spirit returns to God, it doesn't fade into obscurity. It enters the presence of the one who knows you intimately, who designed every part of your being. It's not a moment of fear, but of reunion. Consider how a parent welcomes their child home after a long journey, the warmth, the familiarity, the love. That's the image of what awaits when your spirit returns to God. Picture the stark contrast at the moment of death. The body, once vibrant, filled with energy and life, now rests in complete stillness. No more movement, no more breath. To those watching, it seems as though everything has stopped. But that's only half the story. While the body falls silent, something extraordinary begins. The spirit awakens to a reality beyond anything you've ever experienced. This awakening is not the end. It's the beginning of a journey that takes you beyond the boundaries of this world. The Bible reminds us of this truth again and again. Think of Jesus' words to the thief on the cross. Truly, I say to you, today you'll be with me in paradise. Luke chapter 23, verse 43. Even as the thief's body would succumb to death, his spirit was already destined for something far greater, a direct encounter with eternity. In fact, at the moment of death, the contrast between the body and the spirit is profound. The body, which carried you through life, falls silent. It becomes still, cold, and lifeless, a stark reminder of its temporal nature. But while the physical body ceases to function, something remarkable happens. The spirit, the very essence of who you are, doesn't fade into nothingness. Instead, it begins a journey, one that's been waiting since the moment of your creation. This idea may feel distant, but let's bring it closer to home. Think of when you drift off to sleep. To an observer, you appear still and unresponsive, yet your mind begins to dream. Your consciousness explores places and experiences that go far beyond your physical surroundings. Death is often compared to sleep in the Bible, found in John chapter 11, verse 11, and 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 14. But unlike sleep, it isn't a temporary pause. It's an awakening, a transition from the physical to the eternal. The Bibles show us what this awakening looks like. When Stephen, the first Christian martyr, was stoned to death, he looked up and saw the heavens opened and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God, Acts chapter 7, verse 56. In his final moments, Stephen's spirit was not met with darkness, but with divine clarity and purpose. His body may have been broken, but his spirit was fully alive and drawn toward God. In your everyday life, you've experienced moments that hint at this deeper reality. Have you ever stood in awe of a breathtaking sunset or felt an overwhelming peace during prayer? These moments remind you that there's more to life than what's visible. Death is not the extinguishing of that beauty. It's the doorway to stepping into its fullness. In daily life, it's easy to see the body as everything: your physical strength, your appearance, your presence in the world. But consider this: when a seed falls to the ground, it seems lifeless. Yet, beneath the surface, life stirs. The seed must lose its outer shell for new growth to begin. In the same way, when the body ceases, your spirit steps into its true purpose. What seems like an ending is, in reality, the start of something eternal. As you reflect on the moment of death, it's important to recognize that the body and the spirit are not separate in the way we might think. While the body rests in stillness, the spirit awakens to a reality that transcends time and space. The body, which you so carefully nurture and protect, is finite. It's temporary, created from dust, and destined to return to dust. The physical body serves as a vessel, but it is your spirit that holds the true essence of who you are. The Bible once more beautifully portrays this distinction. For we know that when this earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. This imagery of the earthly tent and the eternal house highlights the contrast between your physical existence and your eternal reality. The body, like a tent, is temporary. It's meant to be used for a time, but it's not your true home. The spirit, on the other hand, is eternal. It was never meant to be confined to just one physical body or one brief life. It was meant for the eternal journey with God. This truth can be illustrated by the way we view change in our everyday lives. Consider the experience of someone moving to a new house. At first, they may feel sadness about leaving the old place, but over time, they adjust and begin to enjoy their new surroundings. It's not that the old house was without value; it served its purpose, but there's something better ahead. Similarly, death is not an end, but a transition into something much greater. The stillness of the body is not a finality, but the closing of one chapter in a much grander story. You might be wondering, why does this new journey matter to you? It matters because it speaks to your ultimate purpose. As your body ceases to function, your spirit moves into a greater understanding of your place in God's grand design. This is where the story of Christ becomes so significant. Jesus came to give you life, not just for today, but for eternity. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. John chapter 3, verse 16. The physical death you face is not a punishment. It's part of the cycle that leads to eternal life through Christ. And this is not something that happens in isolation. The Bible speaks of a great cloud of witnesses who have gone before you, who cheer you on as you make your way through this transition. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. In the presence of God, you're reunited with those who have walked before you, and with Christ, who has prepared a place for you. There's no fear in this journey, only the comfort of knowing that you are stepping into something designed by God, a place where there is no more pain or suffering, only peace and joy in his presence. And here's the most comforting truth. This journey isn't one of isolation or fear. It's a reunion. As your spirit leaves the body, it's drawn back to the one who gave it. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11 tells us, "He has also set eternity in the human heart. You are created for more than just this world." That longing you sometimes feel, the sense that there must be something greater, that's eternity calling to you. So, while the world sees death as the end, God sees it as the beginning. Your spirit doesn't face a void. It steps into the arms of a loving Creator who has prepared a place for you. John chapter 14, verses 2 and 3. The body's stillness marks the close of one chapter, but the spirit's awakening signals the start of an eternal story. You've probably felt this idea in glimpses, those moments of awe when you sense there's more to life than what you can see or touch. Death magnifies this truth, pulling back the veil to reveal that this life is only a chapter in a much larger story. And at the center of that story is God, who welcomes your spirit with open arms, ready to lead you into the fullness of what he has prepared. When your spirit leaves your body, it is not a solitary final moment. It is the beginning of something new, the beginning of a journey that leads you home into the arms of your Creator, where the real, eternal adventure begins. You've been longing for that reality, even if you didn't fully understand it before. Death, in this light, is not an end, but a transition into eternal life. The Spirit's awakening marks the beginning of an adventure with God, one that will never cease, one that will never fade.